let's take a little bit of a step back and try to get an overview of the literature in this field. Because it all starts in the year 1966. Roland Winston publishes a paper, Efficient Light Coupler for Threshold Cherenkov Counters, where he invented this new type of geometry for concentrating radiation very strongly. And actually, this was also independently discovered by two other groups, also in exactly the same time. There was a Soviet group and there was also a German group. And for the first few years, not very much happened. But then, after some years, Winston realized that this can be used for solar concentration, and we start seeing lots of papers coming in now to the big pool of non-imaging optics related papers. Now we're into the 2000s, and the number of papers is really growing. So in the end, we had all of these papers. So this is all papers that have been published on non-imaging optics in some way, either on technical developments in the field or different applications of the field. But it's just dots now. Let's try to get a bit of an understanding of what is this actually about. Quite a few of them are about solar energy. Let's color them yellow for the sun, so we remember. But there is also another big topic. There are quite a few papers about illumination as well. And we can also see that some of them are about both illumination and solar. So we'll get to that a bit later. But let's color them green, like you can think maybe a green LED or something. And the ones that are about both, we can color them rust color, just so we remember them. And an interesting thing we can do now is to see when are all of these papers published? Like, what's the history of this field? So let's try to do that. And we can see that it all starts down here in the mid-60s. But the big thing happens in the mid-1970s when Winston realized that this can be used for solar concentration and turned this into a research field. And for the first 15 years, it was all about solar. There was a big increase in solar papers and a little bit of a decrease again. I was told yesterday by Bill that this was related to decreases in solar funding at that time. But then around 1990, we see a boost again. That was when Roland Winston published a very nice article in Scientific American. It's a very big American magazine. It's a very good article. I recommend reading it. And I think this introduced many people to the topic. And then we can also see all of these green dots starting to appear. So this is when people realized that these techniques can be used for illumination design as well. And then from around 2010, we see a really big increase in the number of papers. So this field is definitely being picked up. And I think a lot of these papers that we see here in the 2010s and onwards are applications of non-imaging optics to different problems. And many of these early ones are sort of the fundamental developments of the techniques and the knowledge in this field. But let's try to explore it from different perspectives as well. Because one thing we can do is to look at the citation count of each paper. So we make a paper bigger if it's cited more. This is not the perfect way to classify papers because sometimes you find a really good paper with 0 citations and other times people game the system and get a lot of citations. But at least it gives us a little bit of structure to this. But still, we don't see that much. But what we can do now is we can take the abstract of all of these papers and feed them to what is known as an embeddings model. This is a type of machine learning model. It's sort of similar to ChatGPT, but it's not a chatbot. It's something that takes this abstract and gives you a number describing what is this paper about. And then we can cluster different papers depending on being similar. And then we get this thing, which I like to call this the map of non-imaging optics. So we have like solar energy land over here. We have illumination land over here. You have this gray area in the middle. That's not been classified as neither illumination nor solar. It's more typically design methods, things like that. And we have these different islands all around. So to see what these islands are about, let's select some random papers written by some of you guys in these different regions. So up here is a paper about solar cooling. And actually all the papers up there are about solar cooling. There's a paper about solar thermal chemistry. And we have this whole island there about using non-imaging optics for solar thermochemistry. And then we have the heliostat island over here. And this island is an interesting one because you see it has a mix of different colors. Some is green, some is this reddish color, some is yellow. So this is about illumination and solar at the same time. Well, it turns out that this is daylighting. Because with daylighting, you take sunlight and you use it to illuminate buildings. So it's about solar and illumination. So it makes sense that it has this mix of different colors. And we can continue and see luminescent concentrators. Over here is freeform land. And up here we have LED land, and here are some light pipes. So there's a lot of stuff that we can see here. But let's try to classify these papers a little bit more. Like, who of these papers use the compound parabolic concentrator, like the start of this field? We can see it's quite popular up here in solar land. So they are quite, the CPC that started this all is used a lot in solar. It's not that popular in illumination land. There it's more common to use lenses of different kinds, but there are some CPC papers as well. And we can do this with other topics, like solar cooking has its own island up there. That's an interesting field for me because that's how I got interested in this field many, many years ago. And we have an island for heliostats over there. We have LED street lights over here. And this is possible to do with all kinds of topics. So this is the concentrator photovoltaics land. It's quite big. Quite a few papers are about concentrator photovoltaics. But I want to classify this in another way. Because attending a conference is not just about the science, it's also about the people. So now I made all the papers that are written by one of us or one of the co-authors on the presentation. They are yellow. So we can see we are all over the place. That's really good. So we have representation from all of our non-imaging optics there. And people are really important. So let's dig a bit deeper into this. So here is a map of all the people who have ever published in non-imaging optics. The dots are quite tiny now because we are quite a few people, but hopefully you can see something here still. Let's first get together because I don't like standing far apart from other people. And again, we need to get some structures. Let's try to increase the size of people who have a higher age index. It's not a perfect metric, but at least it gives us some information. And again, let's color as yellow if we are here. And now we have quite a few dots. It's not so easy to see because they're so small, but we are quite a few people here. And the interesting thing we can do now is to see when did we start publishing? When did we get into this field? So in the beginning, we have Roland Winston, of course, and we have some of the early important people like Harry Rabel, Mignano, who's sitting here, Jeffrey Gordon, who was unfortunately not able to attend today. We have Harold Rees, Pablo Benitez, Bill Casserly, who's sitting here. He told me yesterday that he has been to almost all the non-imaging optics conferences. Julia Chavez, who wrote one of the books in the field. Then we have Lun Yang, who's sitting here. He's the chair of the conference this year. And we have some other people who are helping us organize. Tom Cooper, he's a co-chair. He was unfortunately not able to attend. We have Lynn Smesters, who's done a lot of planning work as well, but unfortunately could not attend this year. And we can see that all of us came into this field at different times. So some of the yellow dots are over there, some are towards the right-hand side, and quite a few are here in the last year. So that means that many of you has this as your first ever publication in non-imaging optics. So I want to say welcome to you and thank you for wanting to publish in this field. So this conference is about getting to know each other, finding people to collaborate with, maybe co-author a paper with. And that gives us some structure. We can look at who are writing papers together. So let's now group people together if they tend to write papers together. And then we get this sort of map of the people of non-imaging optics. And we can see this group in the middle, Roland Winston's group, very central group in the field. But we also have, for instance, Jeffrey Gordon's group, who has done a lot of work. We have Mignano and Benitez's group in Spain, who have done a lot of work. We have Aldo Steinfeld, who has done a lot of work on the application side of using this concentrated sunlight for interesting things. And we have Julius and Henning. They're not really in academia, so they are not a big group, but I want to highlight them still because they're really good teachers. And they hold these courses in illumination optics. So if any of you want to learn more about illumination optics, take one of their courses. But let's again make these yellow dots. So all of this is us. We can see that quite a few of us are here in the central region. So we come from these big groups and are published together in those groups. But several of us are also from around, from different groups who have not traditionally been publishing together. So that makes me very happy. And let's go through some of the people here. So we have Nir Davidson. He's sitting here. He's one of our invited speakers. He's done very good work, but not published together with the rest of us. We have Xiaowa Wang, who's going to present some silicon thermal absorbers. We have Eduardo Rinken, who's going to present some truncation criteria for CPCs. We have Roger Angel, who's going to present a new type of heliostat. Oliver Philip from industry, who's going to present a new light source. Søren Rasa from Denmark, who will talk about meta optics. Gonzalo Domingos, who will talk about materials processing. Tristan Dapp, who will talk about radiative cooling, and that will also, Changlong Xie is also going to talk about radiative cooling. Christy Madsen is going to talk about the really cool way of prototyping non-imaging optics. So in general, we can see that we are quite spread out. That makes me very happy. And I want to repeat that this conference is not just about the science. If it's only about the science, we could sit home and read the papers. The science is very important, and I look forward to hearing all of your presentations. But it's also about the people. So I look forward to getting to know all of the people here that I've not talked to before. And I encourage all of the rest of you as well to get to know each other, talk to each other during the coffee break. And maybe that will lead to some collaboration and bringing people even more together in this map of non-imaging optics. So with that, I want to welcome you all to this conference and thank you for your attention.